Good morning, everybody. This is Brad from Esquina. I wanted to show y'all something that y'all probably don't know. My family owns river bottom land behind the levee, and people always ask me how the hunting is back there, and you know, deer and everything, because they see them off the levee and stuff. They were shocked when I told them that I can't hunt that land back there. They thought it was a family issue of some sort. I said, no, there's a cemetery back here. As you can see, some of these orange flags, I've already marked some of the indentions in the ground where bodies are. There's a bunch of them out here. Now the river came back up over this in 2011, and you can't see them as well as you used to, but there's quite a few up here. Now the last aerial footage of this area was 1938, and it was then, and the cemetery was here then. The archives in Jackson had a map showing it back in the mid 1800s. So this has been around since the plantation days. Now there's no headstones anywhere. I've looked, I can't find a headstone anywhere. There's a cemetery down the road here. Their headstones start around 1700. So it confuses me why there's no headstones here. Could it be something like yellow fever, where they mass buried a bunch of people, or could it be something to do with the plantation back in the day? I don't know. But there's, I'll take the camera around and show you the flags I got. You can see they're buried from west to east, head on the west end, and east is the feet, is where it's supposed to be. Mississippi has a state law that you cannot hunt within 200 yards of a cemetery. Okay, well that's not that big a deal, except our property line ends about 80 yards from here, that south of here. And from this cemetery to the Mississippi River is 220 yards. And 20 of that is leased by a grain elevator, because they lease the banks to tie up their tugboats and stuff. So that's technically our south end of this property. We cannot hunt it due to the fact the cemetery is here. The woods going north of here, they go probably 250 yards, so you might could hunt the very edge of those. Then it turns into bar pits, which we do duck hunt on the very, it's about 400 or 500 yards from here where my boys duck hunt at. But yeah, that's the reason why we don't deer hunt back here, because it's illegal in the state of Mississippi to hunt within 200 yards of a cemetery. And a lot of people don't know that. It makes sense. But anyway, like I said, I don't know what this cemetery is. It's been here since the 1800s. I got flags. If you look down through, you can see some of the indentions. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but there's indentions about the length of the body. There's a flag down there. Well, the last one is, and that's probably the foot of one. If you look, you get back a ways, you almost can see a line right here. There's some more indentions down here, but it's hard to tell now with all this stuff green. Over here, here's another row of indentions that I can tell of, and you can see that flag there, and there's a flag over there with another one, and there's a couple spots right there, but I don't know for sure. I imagine they were putting rows, I imagine, and but yeah, in the state of Mississippi, you cannot hunt within 200 yards of a cemetery, and that pretty much takes out this whole end of the property, because like I said, it's a little over 200 yards to the river, 80 yards that way, a little over 200 yards that way, you're hitting bar pits. So this entire section of woods, legally we can't hunt, which I don't want to hunt anyway, because I don't, you know, I think if you screw around with a cemetery, it's gonna come back and haunt you. Because right off at the end of the cemetery is a big mud hole, it never goes dry, and there's a dinosaur down there, alligator. It's huge. And I was trying, I've been watching it for about 20 years. I've been waiting for it to get big enough to kill, because I got a feeling it's going to be a state record. Because I wear a size 12 boot. I threw one down there when he has a hole at the end of this cemetery underneath. The cemetery is on a plateau. And he was in there, and I threw a boot down there, an old boot I had in the truck, size 12. And from nose to eyes, when he came out around the boot was probably 2 or 3 inches shorter than from the tip of his nose to his eyes. So he's pretty good size. Like I said, I call him a dinosaur because you don't screw with him. You know, he's probably a state record that we cannot kill because we cannot hunt within 200 yards of a cemetery. So our whole south end of this property, legally we can't hunt. The town of Myers was right across the levee, and there's, you know, and the family that owns the property south of us, they're from California, and I got a feeling they don't allow hunting. Anyway, I thought that was a little something a lot of people don't know, is that you cannot hunt around a cemetery within 200 yards. And I talked to a guy about it. I researched it and talked to somebody about it, and he said that normally they never had a problem with that, but if they did, it'd probably throw the book at you. In other words, you're gonna lose your hunting license for a few years and fines, and it's probably not going to be good. So it's not. I love the fish. I've killed about everything that walks and swings, flies and runs and all that crap, and I got 28 deer on the wall, and I'd rather watch them. I gotten older, I like watching them. I guess you outgrow the hunting part, some of us do, and I like to fish though. I like to shoot a duck, but I let all the young people have the deer hunting. Anyway, I figured out something a lot of people didn't know. Let's Quinn out.